3.1 part is analyze price of cost. 3.2 is plan negotiations. 3.3 is select source, and 3.4 is manage disagreements. And each of this will have their different sub-competencies which will be aligned together to get out of the results, and it will have the contract in hand and source selection in hand. And in the same time you will plan your negotiations with the vendor, with contractor, and after finalizing all the terms and conditions, you will select your source and you will award your contract. Award 3.0, the second contract life cycle phase is award. As every one of us, we know that there are contract which is going to be awarded. There are some prerequisites. All of us, we are going to check some technical requirements, some kind of commercial requirements, and some prerequisites which we have to select the vendor, to select the contractor, or to select some factories which we are going to proceed. Whoever will be a seller, we as a buyer, in buyer position, you will select some sources and you will have some criteria. Into certain evaluation, you will finalize your decision. So that all things and all knowledge areas will be covered under the award phase of award life cycle phase. We'll go through this slide. The second contract life cycle phase is award. The award process involves the contract management functions known as contract formation and reflect all the work performed by both the buyer and seller that produces an awarded contract. Some contracts are very simple and other are exceedingly complex, but the majority falls somewhere in between. The processes in the award life cycle phase interact with each other, are continuously integrated with guiding principles. So the guiding principle was the one which we have gone through in our session number 3. In that we have seen multiple guiding principles which will be implementing on each and every life cycle of the phase. In addition, the result of processes of the award life cycle phase are directly impacted by the cumulative effect of the processes and results in the pre-award life cycle phase, and they will have direct impact on the performance and results of the process in the post-award life cycle phase. This is one domain in the award phase, form contract. The process involved in the form contract domain produce the contract. So the domain which will be there in this award phase, this is the form contract, and outcome which will perform entire our processes, outcome will be contract in that. And selected source, for sure, the source which will be selected, it will be awarded to that source only. Domain C, form contract. Form contract involves the process of determining reasonable cost pricing, conducting negotiations, selecting the source, managing disagreements. The value added by this domain is in mitigating or eliminating contract risk by selecting the best source, negotiating prices and terms and conditions. The processes interact with each other, are fortified by other knowledge areas to build competence, leadership, management, guiding principle, and C. As you have remembered the picture, the figure which we'll see in next figure also, this one. In this, it is really clearly mentioning there is leadership, management, then guiding principle, which is covering overall life cycle of the contract, pre-award, award, and post-award, and then there is learn. So this is the competency system of the same book, and this accordingly contracts management cycles are working. And after learning each and every mistake or some positive things, this will be feedback will be given to leadership and management competencies, and you have to improve yourself as compared to yourself in earlier previous contract which you have executed. So each life cycle will be improved from the previous one. In addition, award processes are directly impacted by pre-award process 2.0, and they have direct impact on performance result of post-award phases. Each phase have impact and inputs to next phase. Pre-award will have input to award phase. Then award phase will have inputs and impact to post-award phase. The award job tasks are presented in the annex. 7.1 illustrate how award process align with interact with SIMBOK competency system. We have gone through this slide. 7.2 illustrate how overview award of the competencies. The form contract domain consists of 4 competencies. Now form contract will go through analyze price or cost, plan negotiation, select source, manage disagreements. This is the slide we have gone through earlier. This is the basic structure of SIMBOK competency. Every one of us, whoever is going to attend the exam, whoever is going to select himself for exam questions, he must select this picture also, and he must practice it in multiple various ways. So what are the guiding principles work and how they are covering overall the phase of contract management? This you have to understand, and you have to go through self-study also. Meanwhile, considering this competency system, which is a separate loop, you can see leadership management and learn. These have a separate loop which will be improving their management and leadership competence in the end of the contract life cycle. This is for everyone. For each kind of contract, for each kind of phase, for each kind of problem, for each kind of mistake, for each kind of improvement, you have to give feedback to management and leadership competency to yourself only, and to your senior management also, if there is no problem in that. This is the overview of award competencies. As you can see, previously we have gone through this, which was 2.0 award, and from here there was branch, which was consisting and showing the entire phases of this pre-award. Now there is award, which is showing this domain C, which is form contract, and then out of this there is price or cost analysis, then there is plan negotiation 2.3.2, then there is select source 3.3, and then there are manage agreements 3.4. So these are the overview of award competencies. This domain is primarily responsibility of the buyer, but competency 3.1, 3.2 plan negotiation require buyer and seller to work together to agree to the fair reasonable price that enables the seller to deliver product, goods, supplies or services that meet the buyer's need. As explained in earlier sessions, our all jobs, our all works related to somewhere buying, somewhere selling. So our companies, once they are doing business, they will be buying some goods, they will be buying some services, some products, and they will be selling some products, some services. This is how business works. So in both domains, as a buyer, we must have to have clear understanding what are the competencies to be achieved as a buyer, as a contracts manager, commercial manager for buyer position, and as a seller position, what are the competencies required and how we will gain them through our certification. The process includes determining reasonable cost and pricing, negotiating, selecting the source, and managing the challenges and disagreements. The value added by this process is to mitigate or eliminate contract performance risk by selecting the best source and negotiating fair and reasonable prices and terms and conditions. So we'll go through the competency 3.1, which is analyze price and cost. As you can see from its name, it's a self-explanatory. Once you are receiving any cost, once you are receiving any price from one vendor, from one seller who is the selling his product, you have selected him based on some criteria, and or you are asking him for some price proposal, some quotation. What will be the price analysis, how you will analyze his price, and you as a seller, how you will keep your price and how you will have the reference for that price, how you will select that price. All of these things will go through this competency 3.1. We'll go through this slide. Price analysis is the book of examining, is the process of examining and evaluating an offerer's proposed price without evaluation of the separate details, cost elements, and proposed profit of the offerer's price proposal. So in this, we will not have the detail about about the profits, whatever they are keeping on that. We just have to evaluate technically, generally, and later on we may ask them breakup also. And to make this thing transparent, we may ask them the complete BOE basis of estimates also. And based on that, we will have evaluation and details and a detailed analysis, how they have reached that number, what are the parameters what they have considered, what are the considerations, inclusions and exclusions in their price. This process involves the buyer's ability to evaluate an offer by comparing it with indicators of reasonableness, such as historical prices paid, published prices, competitive analysis, compared analysis, and market data. Cost analysis is the process of reviewing, evaluating any separate cost elements and profits or fee in an offerer's proposal and of the judgmental factors applied in projecting from the data to the estimated cost to determine the degree to which the offerer's proposed cost represent the actual cost of contract performance, assuming reasonable economy and efficiency. This process involves the buyer's ability to ascertain fair and reasonable price and or determine the realism of the price in preparation of the contract negotiations, discussions, and reducing risk in contract performance. So in overall, the buyer who is going to buy some product services, he will be negotiating the price, he will be the chooser, and he have to gain that negotiation skills, that how to analyze and how to understand the cost. And they may ask multiple details from the seller itself, and sellers are bound to provide these details to the buyer to maintain the transparency in contract management. Next is 3.11 price analysis. Price analysis is the preferred method of determining a fair, reasonable price if adequate comparing data are available. If data are available. Now in this, you may have some previous projects, you may have some comparatively quotations from other vendors, you may have some understanding from your historical database, some projects which you have executed maybe 1 year before, 5 years before. You must have to consider the inflation rate, the cost escalation, which is going to be high day by day. And after that, you must have a reasonable comparison between the current prices, current cost, and between the old cost, historical cost, which you will have in your hand. So based on that, you might have to you will achieve some best decision before finalizing someone. The buyer normally does not have access to the detailed breakdown of the cost elements, and the determination of fair reasonable price is made by comparing previous prices, published prices list, or market prices. Price analysis is an evaluation of the bottom line and does not concern itself with the breakdown between cost to the offerer and the ultimate profit margin. Cost analysis. Cost analysis is done on contract where the offerer provides the buyer with the detailed breakdown of the proposed contract price. It is important to understand the different types of cost: direct cost, fixed cost, labor hours, profits, reimbursement, indirect cost, variable cost, material cost. Now in cost analysis, in next subcompetency, you must have to have a complete breakdown for the prices. You must ask the seller what are the considerations they have concluded for this price, how they reach this price, and whatever costs are involved into that. you may ask them. There will be involvement of all labors, there will be involvement of all material, whatever surplus they have added, all of these details they must give in one sheet. And after that, you may understand in which position you are and which price to be selected. After getting the breakup, you might select some vendors partially also, and you might select some point of negotiation on which to negotiate and which price and which percentage is high. Maybe they have added some extra labor hours, maybe have some added extra reimbursement fees, some extra profit margins, or some materials. So all of these details, it will be point of negotiation between seller and buyer. 3.13 Certified cost of pricing data. The truthful cost or pricing data statute required federal government contractors to submit certified cost or pricing data in certain circumstances. Cost or pricing data are all facts that, as of the date of price agreements, if applicable, earlier date upon between the parties, that is clause such as practicable to the date of the agreement on price, prudent buyer and seller would reasonably expect to significantly affect price negotiation. Cost or price data are factual, not judgmental, and verifiable. So in this, somehow, if seller have some backup in that, the certified cost will be the what we can say, the one which he will be able to justify. He might have some quotations from his sub vendors, he might have some clear understanding, and he might have some production details for some factories or some products or some contractors, or whatever he have the breakup in black and white, he must share with that, and this will be certified cost. Or there might be some government rules, country to country it is different, there might be some government rules which will be the selecting the material prices. So all of these details which will be coming under the certified cost and pricing data. So this data have to be used while making this cost by the seller, and the seller have to share that data also with the buyer while making analysis of the price and cost. But somehow, as they are written, that some cost and pricing data are factual, not judgmental, and not verifiable. But trust is really important in between this. So if someone have some previous vendors who have worked with them, they might have some trust on them, and they will use the same vendor, and there might be some understanding between both of them, and they may given the contract to them. So this is person to person and company to company. But somehow, while analyzing, we must ask each and every vendor, each and every contractor to share these details while making our detailed and transparent analysis. While they do not indicate the accuracy of the prospective contractor's judgment about estimated future cost or projections, they do include the data forming the basis for the judgment. Cost or pricing data are more historical accounting data. They are all the facts that can be reasonably expected to contribute to the soundness of the estimates of future cost and to the validity of determinations of the cost already incurred. Then there is next competency, plan negotiation. In plan negotiations, you will have each and every detail in your hand. You might have detailed breakup for each and every price, for profits, for materials, for labor hours, if you have requested. If not, you might have loose control on the plan negotiations. Better to have the detailed analysis before planning your negotiation, final negotiation, before awarding. So this will be helpful tool and technique before going ahead with the seller. And you might select the best negotiation method and best point of negotiation with seller if you have the complete breakup and complete data from the seller, how they reach that price, what are the parameters they have considered in all inclusions and exclusions. We'll go through this slide. The plan negotiations is the process of preparing for interaction between the buyer and seller regarding all aspects of the offer and its terms, and often involves clarifying requirements and parties requesting changes or consideration of an alternate approach that may be consistent with the solicitation requirement. This process involves both parties collaborating to find common ground or offer compromises among their differences in quantity, price, delivery, quality, or other factors. So there will be negotiation based on these points also, which is the difference of the quantity, prices, delivery, terms, quality, and other factors. So all of these, it will be the common ground basis of the negotiations also. So if there is longer delivery for certain items and certain items have lowest price, we must have to understand what are the delivery requirements when we need that deliverable on certain point of time. And maybe some other vendor who is issuing some products maybe that have very high quality, but we must have to understand what are the quality means. Quality means the acceptable product by the client with the certain criteria. We must not go for the gold plating. Gold plating means something asking, something giving more than what is required. So we must have to understand the quality, and if there is high quality product with high price, we are in business, we must have to understand that this will not work in business unless we are going to maintain and we are going to target some better relationship with client, which will be compensating us in next contracts or in next businesses which we are expecting from them, just to make some goodwill and to make some better relationship with client. So all of these things we have to consider while negotiating and while planning for our negotiations. Negotiating is a communication process where two parties attempt to reach an agreement. This doesn't need to be a process where one party wins at others' expense. This is possible and preferable that both parties finish negotiating feeling that they have won, even though the two parties have different interests. They have common goal to negotiate fair, reasonable price and terms and condition, and enables the contract to be successfully awarded. So in negotiation, we must have to understand the other company who is sitting on the table, the other person, they are also in one company who is doing business. We must have to understand that they have a certain marginal profits, and that profits ratio we have to respect that. We must not put him in corner from all aspects, but in other manner we must have to have a clear understanding what are the considerations they are giving, and they are not cheating us or they are not giving us uneven price which is like out of the market, and they are not making any kind of monopoly, and they are not giving any unreasonable price. So in both manner, we have to understand that we are winning also and they are winning also. From the table, once we will go out of the meeting room from the negotiation, we have to maintain a healthy relationship, and we have to understand that we both are in win-win condition. As a seller, as a buyer, we both are in win-win condition. From buyer point of view, we have to understand that we are going to negotiate within our limits, and this is our budget target. Before going to finalize negotiations, we must have to understand what are our budget requirements, in which figure, in which range we are looking to buy that product, that contract, that commercial part, and within that only we are going to finalize it. And as a seller point of view, once we are going to plan negotiation, we must have to make our target also, that if we are giving the RFP, RFQ, we are giving some proposal or some quotation uh, for 1 million, we must have to understand that 800,000 will be sufficient for us. Maybe we are keeping extra profits on that. If not, maybe 950,000. So in our mindset, we must have to set one figure before going into negotiation, so that will be really useful. So we must have to understand that this is our ceiling price From this this figure we will not be breaking it up, and from this figure if it will match we will agree on that point. So this all things have to be considered in mind before going to negotiations. Preparation. Preparation is the most important step in the negotiation process. Buyer seller have unique advantages going into negotiations. Buyer know how much money is available and the amount and nature of competition. Seller know the basis of for cost estimates, including the impact of performance risk and where there is flexibility in their proposals. Thorough preparation lead to smooth negotiations, a good contract with fewer changes, and a successful outcome. The negotiation team. So from buyer side, from seller side, there should be few members which will be selected as a negotiation team, and there will be one there will be one leader of that. He should have a clear power or and signing authority. He must understand if he will give yes, it will be yes from his side, from his company side, and he will not go back anyone else to revalidate his decision. And this negotiation team will negotiate many contracts. They will negotiate earlier contracts also, and they have experience. Possibly these team members will be consisting on contract manager, financial analysis, cost analysis. We'll go through this slide. Negotiation team members typically have different function expertise. Selecting team members depend on the nature of the acquisition and the experience that each member brings to the team. Team member on each side may include, but not limited to, contract manager, financial analysis, cost analysis. In my opinion, there should be some technical manager, some technical engineer, the one who knows things very deeply from technical aspects, because in negotiations there will be some parts which will lead to some technical discussions. Is there also legal counselor, design engineer, production specialist, quality control specialist, program manager, note taker. So 7.3 in next slide we can see this is the negotiation team. As you can see, negotiation team is consisting, including but not limited to. So this is also one important thing, that these are the nine team members of negotiation team. These are including but not limited to. There could be some others also depending on our contract, depending on our negotiation phase, to whom we can add into this. There is contract manager, financial analysis, cost analysis, legal counsel, design engineer, production specialist, quality control specialist, program manager, note taker. These are the part of negotiation team. The buyer seller team should designate a lead negotiator. So the lead negotiator, as I have explained earlier, he will have the authority and he will say yes, it will be yes. He will say no, it will be the no. And he will have the clear understanding in which figure, in which range they are going to play around in negotiation, in which figure they are going to select or reject, in which figure, and what are the technical parameters also he must understand. Maybe the quality which they are offering, the client or the buyer, they does not want that, and they might asking for some other range, or they might ask for some high quality, and your quality which you are considering, that is not the requirement of the client. So all of this details the lead negotiator he must understand before sitting into negotiation table. So lead negotiator, most often contract manager, depending on the organization customary practice and line of business. In the case of federal government contracting and government, lead negotiator is always a contract manager. The ideal team consists of members who have worked together on the acquisition since its early stages, from solicitation development to proposal submission. Negotiation can take several months or even years. So depending on contract, negotiation can have multiple phases: stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, like that. Then final negotiation, depending on contract, depending on the volume of contract and organization to organization. As long as design is clear, from 3 to 4 stages, it must be completed. Negotiation objectives. So what are we looking for and what are our objectives to finalize? All these details we have to consider. Each negotiation is different. Even if acquisition is for a supply or service previously purchased, the marketplace may be different, the delivery schedule may be different, and the economy may be different. Such factors influence contract structure, pricing decisions, and negotiating objectives. Establishing the negotiation objectives entails more than cost or price analysis and comparison with the proposed price. Most aspects of a solicitation are negotiable, such as statement of work, contract type, delivery schedule, warranties, payment terms, terms and conditions, reporting requirements. Various other aspects may be negotiable depending on circumstances around the acquisition. Both buyer and seller need to establish specific realistic negotiation objectives. So as I have said earlier, we have to select our objectives, and mainly it will be depending on the price range, in which range we are looking to negotiate and to finalize. That price range and that figure we have to select in our mind, in a paper also we might have, right? And we can make a pre-negotiation meeting also with our team members, with internal, before sitting with other party. That will help us to maintain a healthy relation and healthy environment in meeting room, so we can discuss each and every opinion via brainstorming of each every team member from our company internally before going to negotiation, final negotiation with the client, with the buyer, with the seller, like from other party to whom we are going to get work or give work. If any of you have any kind of question, you may please ask. Okay, 7.4, 7.5 in next slide is trade samples form, useful in documenting and negotiation objective when price analysis is used and when cost analysis is used respectively. The amount derived from each position must be defensible. The negotiator must know the exact numbers, the reason for arriving at them, and the means to justify them. Each party should document how they reached the amounts, because as the fact surrounding any of assumption change, the position will change also. So these are the negotiation objectives for fixed price contract, and then negotiation objectives for cost plus fixed fee contract. You can see in your screen. If you have any kind of question, you may please ask freely. Okay, 3.2.4, things to know about the other party. Okay, we must have to understand the other company, other party position also. What are their strengths, what are their weaknesses? We must have to understand before finalizing the negotiation. And all of these details we must have to understand, and it will help us to finalize our number and help us to finalize our position. They might have some works already. In that manner, they will not be interested on lower margin. If they don't have any work, they might be interested even the lowest margin, and they just have to maintain their cash flow of the company, and they will go for the reasonable price for that product, for that certain scope of work. So these all details we must have to make R&D before going to someone in negotiations, and we must have to understand their marketplace conditions also. We'll go through this slide. During negotiation, the main goal of buyer and seller is to reach a mutually beneficial outcome. Understanding and gathering as data as possible with regard to primary goals, objectives of the other party will provide opportunities to explore, discuss, give and take during the negotiation process, and should decrease the possibility of protracted and lengthy negotiation and lead to successful agreements and contract award. Contract negotiations best practices. The best practices are the following. The buyer should know what they want, lowest price or best value, state their requirement in performance terms, and evaluate accordingly. Conduct market research about potential sources and market characteristics. Evaluate potential sources promptly and dispassionately. Precisely follow the evaluation criteria stated in the solicitation management technical and price. Use absolute, minimum or relative evaluation standard to measure performance as stated in the solicitation. Develop organizational policies to guide, facilitate the source selection process. In each and every company, we have some different criteria. Someone is asking 3 quotations, someone is asking 5 quotations. Different company have different understanding to select the source, and then afterwards they will maintain the negotiation with them in terms of quality, delivery period, and pricing also. Using a weighting system to determine which evaluation criteria are most important. Using a screening system to pre-qualify sources. Obtain independent estimates from inside or outside experts to assist in source selection. You might ask some subject matter experts which will be included in your company, even though out of company or sister company, someone who is engaged with you, maybe it could be your friend also who is working in same profession or who have better experience in contracts or in negotiation. You might ask some mentorship, some advices. Sorry. Use past performance as key aspect of source selection and verify data accuracy. Conduct price realism analysis. Create a competitive analysis report. Use verbal presentation or proposal by seller to improve and expertise the source selection process. Select source. Now this figure is 3.3. This competence is 3.3. Select source. In this, we will select our source, and we will see after selection what are the things they required from our side, what are the things we required from their side. All of these details we will share together, and before finalizing, we have to reach in proper understanding what are the document prerequisites and what are the technical terms and condition have to be agreed in that. Select source is the process of analyzing submitted offers in accordance with solicitation evaluation criteria to select the source that has the highest probability of satisfactory contract performance. This process involves mitigating buyer risk by selecting the offerer most likely to satisfying perform the contract and assures the seller of consistent and fair selection process. Determining which company wins a contract is often referred to as source selection, and term is also used to summarize all activities in evaluation process. This selection addresses the different methods of source selection and focuses on negotiated source selection because that method is time consuming and complex. Any of you have any question, you may please ask freely. Simplified acquisition. With simplified acquisition, source selection, the resulting contracts are less complex and less costly. Typically, simplified acquisitions are conducted at or below a stated dollar threshold. Simplified acquisition procedures may be used at much higher dollar amount for commercial, non-complex, or non-developmental items. The intent is to simplify and streamline the contract award processes for these types of requirements. In this case, there is typically no need to require the inclusions of detailed technical content in the seller's proposal. The basis for awarding simplified contract is typically to obtain well-defined product goods, supplies, or services in a timely manner at fair, reasonable price. Using a competitive process tends to establish fair and reasonable prices. The source selection decision should be documented for future references. There is sealed bidding. Next part is 3.3.2, sealed bidding. Sealed bidding, as all of us we know, that one tender or one request for proposal will be open in publicly in website or in some private in a public board. So with that, sealed bidding will be requested and proposal will be requested in sealed condition. All of the sellers who are interested to work with that, they will make their proposal, and in sealed envelope they will share the details including price. It could be in two stages, in technical part and in commercial part. Both will be separate, and somehow it could be in one phase also. Source selection through sealed bidding is typically accomplished using price or price related factor stated in the invitation for bids, and the lowest price win the contract. So while there is selection method, in this they will select either through the price and price related factor. These are the really important factors which will be selected according to the bid. They might ignore the quality, they might ignore some other parameters also. So price related factors will be important in this kind of selection. In federal government contracting, the bids must be responsive and responsible to the to be considered for contract award. A bid is responsive when it complies in all materials aspects with the invitation for the bids. Requiring such compliance ensures that bidders have equal footing in the source selection decision. Okay. Next competency is 3.3.3, negotiated source selection. Negotiated source selection is a more formal process that goes beyond conducting a negotiation. It involves numerous participants with defined roles and duties. 7.6 illustrate a typical source selection team for solicitation greater than 100 million. Smaller dollar value source selection typically do not include a source selection advisory council. This will be a committee which will be made from one company and from the seller also, from buyer also. These committees can work as a selection team, as a valuation team. As you can see in your screen, source selection team is shown as per the picture, which is the project which is greater than $100 million. For this kind of work, there must be a team which will be involved in that source selection and negotiation process. Okay, gentlemen, just going ahead, before going ahead, we'll just take 10 minutes short break. We'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we'll resume from here. So, greater than 100 million contracts, as per American federal government law and as per NCMA, there should be some source selection authority. Some committee should be there, which will be conducting negotiation and which will be conducting detailed analysis before selecting source. As per your screen, you can see. We'll go into next slide. Source selection process has the several steps depending on the nature of the acquisition. 7.7 so shows sample source selection process. Not all the steps depicted in 7.7 are required for every source selection because every acquisition is unique. The sequence or number of events may be slightly